There's something wrong with my camera on this computer because I look like Shrek. It's giving me this complexion of Shrek.
Oh, you do look a bit green.
Yeah, the white balance is off or something.
Yeah, I don't know, Bina. We've been meaning to say something for a little while.
You look more green when you sit further back.
Yeah,
you
you
sit
do.
closer.
You've got the Hulk look going on.
You look really green.
That's so
Oh my
weird.
God. Oh my God.
Green.
No, it's not.
Hiya, gang. Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it? So it's an extra big welcome to Effin Hormones, the podcast about perimenopause and beyond. Hi, I'm Emma Goswell, and in this podcast, I get to talk about all the very baffling things that can happen at this time of life. And, best of all, I get to do it with my mates, Terry, Bina and Helen. So you'll hear from them in a moment, but coming up, you're going to hear from the fabulous actress and our only repeat guest, Sue Devaney, who of course you might know from Coronation Street. And the first time we spoke to her, we were blown away by just how frank and how funny she was about her story. Well, there has been a bit of an update, a lovely update in Sue's life since we last spoke, and I can't wait for you to hear what it is. But we have not seen each other for ages. So it's time for a catch up with the gang.
Hey.
Barely recognise you, it's been that long, hasn't it? How are you all? The nights are drawing in.
Bina's gone green and Terry's disappeared.
I do look so green.
So apart from turning into Shrek, how are you, Bina?
All right, not too bad. I've spent a week in Gloucestershire in the countryside. I'm dog sitting for a friend and I've had a lovely time.
If we hear him in the background, what's he called?
He's called Bertie. He's got a very nice snoozy grunty thing going on. He's very, he's a delight. Very happy chap.
And there's something very cleansing about being in the countryside.
Totally.
I mean, cleansing for the soul.
Yeah.
I always thought when I'm old, I might move to the countryside because I imagine that's what you do when you're old. And I'm not quite at that stage yet, but I'm nearing it. I'm starting to think I could benefit from a countryside lifestyle. Yeah, I think this is something that you might aspire to in older age.
But I feel like you'd need to be like X amount of steps away from a pub, maybe, Em?
I do, yes, you are right. That would have to be. Absolutely, obviously, you do know
You
me.
could just go get a pub. That's where you buy a pub and run it in the countryside.
In the countryside!
When my mental health is going a bit, or if I'm stressed or anxious or anything like that, just getting out and having a walk in green space. But just, trying to get out and not be in your own head sometimes is quite important, I think. I don't know whether we want to ask Helen how she's doing because she's been having a little meltdown in the corner of my screen for the last 40 minutes.
I've had quite a day. But listen, I need to say why Effin Hormones hasn't been on for quite some time. I think it was March, wasn't it, the last episode? So basically, I just absolutely hit a wall. And I've been working very hard this year, which, listen, I'm a freelancer. That's great. As a freelancer, you always want to have the work in. But the problem for me is that when I'm that busy, I just can't keep up with all the things that I need to keep up with in order to stay on top of all my lovely gut health issues. So, I just hit a wall and I just got exhausted and got some of my gut health symptoms back, which fatigue is like a massive one of those, and also anxiety, the lovely anxiety that keeps on rearing its lovely head, and I just knew that I needed to just go in and focus on myself and my family and work. Do you know what I mean? And I've been thinking back, and actually, coming up, you're going to hear from Sue because she talks again about how sometimes you just have to hunker down and look after yourself. And that's what I've had to do, basically. And so producing Effin Hormones, I was like, no, do you know what? I'm going to have to press pause on this right now.
Well, don't take all the blame, Helen, because to be fair, this podcast would not exist without you. You would do all the editing and make us sound brilliant, which frankly requires a lot of time and effort. So don't beat yourself up.
That's not entirely true. Oh, bless you, though. Thank you.
But, it's difficult when you've got so much else on. It really is. So
yeah,
we're just grateful that you ever have had some time to actually put it together and make it happen, because it wouldn't have happened without you.
Thank you. And then also, there's the small matter of us having a relatively new mum in our ranks as well, right?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Emma's forgotten who that is.
Well, it feels like I've been doing it.
Baby, remember?
No, but the thing is, I still call her Baby Neve, but she's definitely not a baby, is she?
No, she's not. I'm always going to think of her as Baby Neve.
Is she
terrible too?
She's got 18 months now?
2?
No, someone asked me on a dog walk this morning, how old is she? And I said 2, but actually she's nearly 2 and a half.
Is she?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've heard about this terrible 2s before, but I had no idea.
Go on.
The amount of stress and the amount of work involved. Like, and people always build up like your life will completely change when you have a baby. It's so difficult. No, it's not. It's a piece of piss having a baby. It's sleep for about 14 hours a day.
This is true, actually. Yeah.
Really, why do people never say, "Oh, be fine now," but just wait for 2 years? Then you'll just like you go completely mental because you can't take your eyes off them.
There's a small matter of breastfeeding at the start, right? So you've got that.
Well,
sort
I didn't
of
have to do that.
So you didn't have to do that, did you? No. So it's that exhaustion at the start. But I'll never forget, actually, one of our lovely colleagues, Jane, who we used to work with, Emma. I remember her saying to me when I first had my son, "Oh, they're just like you can just pick them up and carry them around at the start, like you can have them in a handbag, with like the travel thing.
Oh yeah,
like a
and
pinchy.
you go and meet your mates, and you can put them on the table in the cafe and have have your coffee.
You still go out for nice meals.
Yeah. Exactly. And then when they start walking around and everything and climbing around the place, you're like, oh my God.
Well, she's not doing that, but it's getting harder and harder to go out and have a nice meal because she will just throw all of the cutlery that she can reach onto the floor. She will eat menus. If you do put it on the floor, she'll then just crawl up to the people in the restaurant. I mean, she is just hard work. You just can't take your eyes off her for a second. Like, literally, today, I got back from the dog walk. It was just me, the baby and the dog. Put her down, and I thought I need 30 seconds to go and just hang the dog lead up, dry the dog, come back. And within 30 seconds, she'd managed to get into the bathroom and put her hand in her potty, which I'd left bleach soaking.
Oh, no.
So then I was like, then I thought she's going to put her hand in her mouth. So then I was worried she'd drunk bleach. And then 30 seconds later, she managed to find something that was glass and throw it onto the patio and smashed it everywhere. And I was like, we'd literally been home 60 seconds. She's nearly drunk bleach and she smashed glass.
I'm ringing social services, Emma. I don't know about anyone else.
Hello, but it's like, what planet are 2-year-olds on? It's like they go into a room and they find the most dangerous thing to possibly do and do it immediately before you've even clocked what they're doing.
So this is where the phrase, right, that you start going like, oh, this is what my parents used to say. And you're like, oh, for God's sake. Like, you've got to have eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah,
right?
you do.
I remember my parents saying this when I was little. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so it's exhausting. So, no, I adore her. I love her. She's the love of my life.
Course
She's
you
an
do.
absolute darling. But it is hard work. And I think I said this a while ago, but when we spoke earlier this year, and I'd really neglected my health last year, hadn't I? And I don't think I've done that, but I have definitely not done any exercise, or I've stopped going. I went to yoga classes again for a little while and I've stopped doing that. So it's just, there's just things that you miss out on when you're parenting to that like extreme level. So actually going for a jog or actually going to yoga class has just not really happened for a few months. So I need to bring that back into my life, really, because you need that time for yourself, don't you? Which you have when you're exercising, because you're just focusing on exercising. And I think I need that in my life again.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I need to work that out, really.
So, I mean, I think, given that we're all talking about this, it feels like a good time to say that, and I don't quite know how I'm going to say this, but we've basically decided that we need to come to the end of Effin Hormones now.
You're fired.
Yeah.
We fired ourselves, haven't we, really?
No, I'm firing Helen. I mean, where's she been since March?
Where have you been since?
You've let yourself down.
I mean,
you've let our audience
let yourself down. You've let the... Oh, you bastard. No, thank you for taking the piss at me.
Millions of people have been waiting for our next episode.
I know. Do you know what? Terry, you're a fucking legend, because you're stopping me from crying right now, so thank you. That's great. But look, I mean, I think a lot has changed. If we think back over like the past 3 years and like how far we've come. Look, she's waving a tissue at. She's waving a tissue at me now.
Let's see if we can pass it through the screen.
She's trying to get me to cry now. Stop it. Look, I think that we've all come really, really far. I mean, if you think back to where you were at the start, Emma, and how much we've all learned, and how much... I mean, I know what the fuck is wrong with me now, right? I know what is actually wrong with me. And that took 2.5 years of doing a podcast to
and it's nothing to do with menopause.
Yeah, ironically. So Helen's off to start another podcast.
Hang on. No, we spoke to Dr. Stacey Sims, and she said, gut health problems, perimenopause. So, I've had an international expert like corroborating my, letting me into the gang. But I just think, we started, didn't we? And we said we wanted to kickstart a conversation and break a taboo. Okay. And I think we've done that. And I hope that we've shown people that by coming together and chatting together with your mates, it can make it easier and encourage other people to do the same. And if you want to carry on the conversation, then there's a whole raft of our archive to listen to. If there are new people coming through who you recognise the symptoms, like help them out, tell them. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. But I feel like we're all at a stage now where we kind of feel like we told our stories as well, haven't we?
Well, I think it's,
you know what I mean?
we've told our stories, but actually for me, it's less been about, it's been learning. A lot of it has been learning, which has been great. But for me, it's being able to speak to all these remarkable guests we've had and hearing different stories, understanding different perspectives, and really kind of, it's that, again, it's sort of belonging and community and going, God, well, I'm not mad. We're not mad. And this conversation does need to happen. But I do feel like, when we were sort of talking about maybe wrapping things up, and I know we're going to have this is the penultimate episode, guys. It's not the not the ultimate episode.
Don't panic.
But I do feel like the momentum on the conversation, which was non-existent when we started this, so much so that I didn't even really understand what perimenopause was. And I feel so better equipped. But I also think that people who've been, following us, listening to us, supporting us, which has been tremendous, but also like generally out there, there's a lot more understanding. But I've just been blown away by all the remarkable people we've met and all the people who've listened, who've got in touch with us. Some of the most touching, moving messages, right? And I'm sorry, I'm probably going too far for this episode on this stuff, but it's, I feel like our work's done.
Yeah.
In the context of us, there's more work to be done in this general kind of thing, but I feel like we've done what we set out to do.
We can hand over the baton now and keep talking, keep having the conversations, guys. You've seen how beneficial it's been for us, and hopefully it will be for you too,
And we've all just been on such a journey with it over the last 3 or 4 years, haven't we? And, things have changed for all of us individually, loads. And I feel like we've had all the conversations that we probably need to have about the menopause. I feel like it's come to a sort of natural conclusion, hasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is there's all the information that we weren't aware of. So, we started with like an A to Z of perimenopause symptoms because we were like, oh my God, did you know this is perimenopause? Or burning mouth or itchy skin or tinnitus or whatever, all these things that we didn't know because there was no information. Whereas now there's movements, in the health arena to educate women about our bodies and about menopause and perimenopause. There's moves to get women equal access to replenishing their hormones. There's, a drive for improvements in health as a whole for women's health in periods and polycystic ovaries and all of that. And there's political movement and there's a will, I think, there to actually change things for women's health and address some of that misogyny, which is part of what we looked at as well. So I think a lot of that information is in the arena. I think we were a very big part of trying to get a lot of that out there. And I think we've done our job and I think we've done it well. We learned ourselves as we went along. And I think that's what was great about what we've been doing, because hopefully we've not been dictating to people. We've been telling them our experiences and what we've learned as we've gone along. So we might not have always got it right. But the dog agrees with me. We've not always got it right, but
the dog is in firm agreement.
Bertie's fully across perimenopause.
Bertie is an Effin Hormones fan. But yeah, so anyway, I think we've done a good job. I think we've done our best. We've hopefully helped other people to just understand just some of the things they might be going through and realise they're not on their own, and to hopefully empower them to find out more information for themselves as we've done.
And hopefully we've had a laugh, and hopefully we've made people laugh.
Or really cringe with some episodes.
Or cringe.
Definitely cringe for some of it.
Absolutely cringing at some, to be fair.
I'm not sure I do want this to live on forever, Helen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you're running for Parliament or something like that, when you go for like some highfalutin job and they're like, well, in this episode of Effin Hormones...
Terry talks about vaginal dryness again.
But listen, this isn't the final episode, guys. This is not the final episode, okay?
But yeah, this is not the end. We will come together in person one more time. It'll be our swan song. And very importantly, we would love you to be involved in our last episode. So this is a call out. We want you to email us, to voice note us, ask us questions, or just make a comment. We will give you more details about how you can get involved and what we want from you guys at the end of this episode. But please do listen to the very end and get involved in our final episode. So, given all of that, that's why we thought it would be really lovely to revisit someone who had a big impact on us right at the very start of Effin Hormones, which is why we're now speaking to Sue. She's up next. Time now to hear from the fabulous Sue Devaney. You'll know her, of course. She's the actress we know and love from loads of brilliant roles, including currently Debbie Webster in Coronation Street. It's very popular. I don't know if you've seen it. Sue was one of our very early guests back on Series 1 of Effin Hormones. Now, if you haven't heard it, I really recommend that you scroll back a bit and have a listen, because it's a brilliant listen. She's really frank, she's funny, and downright inspirational as well. She's come back from anxiety and panic disorder, and things were really, really tough for her early on in the menopause. But she is older, she is wiser, if that's possible, and, wait for it, in love. Yes. Cupid has been firing his arrows everywhere. What a combination. Welcome, Sue Devaney.
Thank you for that gorgeous intro. Thank you so much. Yes, I had to love myself a little bit so somebody else could love me.
Well, that is what RuPaul says, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, love yourself. Love yourself. Yeah, I had to wrap myself up. Yes.
Now, we must give you congratulations, though, because pretty recently, it was only back in March this year, you got hitched.
Woo! I certainly did. Can you Adam and Eve it?
Well, I know think,
after all this time, yeah.
I think a lot of people couldn't Adam and Eve it, so we need the lowdown. We want to know who he is, where you met him, how it happened.
Right. Okay. So what happened was, I was on holiday with my girlfriends, and we were talking about, women of a certain age going through the menopause, not wanting any relationships anymore. We weren't going to have children. I was through the other side. When I said through the other side, I was like, perimenopause, that had happened. So I was full scale in menopause. And we were just chatting on holiday, went to Lanzarote, chatting away, saying, no, I'm happy as Larry now. I'm just happy seeing my friends, happy being single. Anyways, we get on plane on the way home, and my friend said, oh, Suey looks a bit like your type, an intrepid explorer.
Is that your type?
An intrepid explorer with a bald head and muscly, and shorts on, all tanned. And I looked, I went, oh, yeah, it does, yeah, it does. Anyway, so my friend got chatting to him. And she said, you couldn't get me walking stick from up top, could you?
What a line!
I must note that one down.
Couldn't get me walking stick from up top. And she said, I'll get chatting, find out. She said, are you married, single, or are you of the other persuasion, And anyway, he said, well, I'm single. And she said, oh, have you been on holiday? Well, I've just been out to Lanzarote and I spent a couple of months out here. I'm retired. Oh, what did you do? Well, I was a journalist for the BBC. Oh, my friend works in media. She said, my friend's in media, yeah. Do you fancy her? She's the third one along in this role.
That is forward, Sue. I hope he said yes. Was he a bit embarrassed?
You haven't seen my friend yet. You haven't seen my friend, honestly. She's just brilliant. And I just, for the whole of the journey then, I had my head in my handbag because, believe it or not, I'm terribly, terribly shy when it comes to chatting somebody up and that, it's been a while. So I had my head in my handbag, and every time I tried to look over and talk, I'd said, is he gone now? No. Because I'm not looking up until he's gone. And it was funny because there was a seat next to him on the plane. And my friend and my sister said, why don't you go and sit next to him to get to know him? I went, no, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And anyway, to cut a long story short, she gave him my number.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And he kept me waiting 4 days, rang me 4 days later. And we've been inseparable.
Aww.
Yeah.
That is so lovely.
So it's just... Yeah.
And did he recognise you though, Sue? Did he not go, oh yeah, I've seen her in Dinner Ladies? No, he didn't, no.
You know what? He didn't really, no. He did say, which one? Because there were 4 of us in this row. He said, which one? Because she said, my friend fancies you. I said, oh, which one? But I said to Jim, I said, what did you think? Because we've talked about it since, about being on the plane. And he said, well, I just thought, oh, yeah, you're not bad. You'll do for me. But the fact that Jim had never been married, he's always been quite independent, done a lot of travelling. Same with me, I've always been touring and stuff and never really settled down. And isn't it funny, like later on in life, like Jim's just turned 60 this year and I'm 50. How old am I now? 56? Yeah, 57 this year. So it's like, it's been the most bizarre thing.
That's so lovely.
And especially to get married. It's like, should we get married? Yeah, go on then, yeah? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And I did see a picture on Facebook, Sue. You looked an absolute vision in red.
You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you very much. My friend from the Coliseum Theatre, she works in wardrobe at the Coliseum, made my dress, and she normally does my Panto villain costumes.
Oh, no, she doesn't.
Oh, yes, she does.
Oh, yes, she
You looked
does.
absolutely stunning and so
thank
happy.
you so
Honestly, I
much.
was so happy when I saw those pictures. I was like, yay!
And
Oh,
I suppose,
thank you.
in a way, you probably weren't bothered, but had you sort of given up on finding the one, seeing as you were post-menopause?
Yeah, and it's like what you've never had, you never miss, do you? So I didn't know what it was like to be in a relationship for that length of time and to depend on somebody and to share your life with somebody. I'd always had, very brilliant best friends. I always had a full house. I always had like my friends staying and was always having a great social life and stuff. So, and loved my own company as well. Because I think with perimenopause, I just wanted to sit in and be nice and potter, So I think, and I've always enjoyed my own company as well. So I didn't really miss it because I didn't know what was to miss. Now, if you say now, oh, what would it be like having a life without Jim? I think, I don't know really, because I'm so used to it. I mean, we've been together 4 years now, and in the great scheme of things, it's not a great length of time, but we look at each other and go, isn't this brilliant? Isn't this, because Jim's really independent and he does his own thing, and we just kind of meet in the middle, and I've never had that before. Never had it before. Yeah,
That's so lovely.
And I guess, in a way,
Yeah.
there's less to worry about, isn't there, meeting someone post-menopause? You don't have to worry about getting pregnant.
don't have to worry about anything like that. It's true. You don't. But what's interesting though as well, because I think when you do come out the other side, you really worry a lot with perimenopause because you don't know what's happening in your mind and stuff, and you think it's a crazy experience. But I think coming out the other side and I don't know what's happening with my body, because your body changes all the time. But actually, it's just a blessing. You feel blessed that you're still here and you're still around and you're still here to see the changes.
So how are you with it now, Sue? Because I know when we spoke, a few years ago now, you'd been through some really tough times, physically and mentally with your health. And it's not really a linear process. It's like you go through it and then you're 100% better. How are you at the moment?
Well, it's always shifting, isn't it? It's always shifting. And I think that I'm going down with a fight. That's what I say. Yes. I'm going down with a fight. And, I still am on HRT, and I was on tablets. And then I saw a wonderful lady called Anise Mukherjee who specialises in the menopause. And so I went to see her, and she put me on the patches. And so I have the patch and the progesterone at night, and then a little bit of testosterone as well, which I find that helps. But it's always constantly changing. And I think that it's to stay on top of it more than anything. And it's an acceptance now. I accept that my body will never be the same. I accept that you lose your collagen. It's really hard to deal with the physical symptoms as well now, because this is great. Right at the beginning with my perimenopause, I was so far gone with anxiety, and
I should just say Sue just pointed to her head then for people that can't see her.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, with this. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was. But like now, it's a case of okay. I feel really calm. I feel really grounded. I feel really happy and content and grateful. But I look down and I don't know whose body this is.
I know that
I don't
feeling.
know whose it is. I don't know whose it is. I really do not know who it is, because I don't recognise this flesh, I really don't. And that's something to come to terms with. But I have to embrace it, and I have to love what this is now.
And how's that, if you're starting a new relationship? Because, the thing is, it's a bit weird for everybody at the start, isn't it? But when you're a bit older...
Yeah.
Was that something that you needed to get over as well?
Well, you know what? I just thought, if this is going to be right, he has to love me warts and all, And
you.
I think it's being with Jim that has made me realise that it's not about perfection. You don't have to, like, when my bra flicks off, my boobs are somewhere at my belly.
Pick 'em up off the floor.
That's fine now. That's fine now.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, honestly, because it's like, I think, especially about being in the industry that I'm in, it's like, keep young and beautiful. And you think, oh my God, and you just think, why? Why am I even trying to keep up with somebody who's in the 30s? I can't. And I think now it's every single thing that happens with your body that you just think, okay, what's that? Because it's on a like weekly, monthly change that things happen. Like even my feet are not the same. Even
what's happened to your feet, Sue?
Right, my
She's
feet.
got more toes.
Grown an extra one.
We're having one of those old people conversations,
She's a hobbit.
where they just meet up and everyone just talks about their ailments.
This is how it started, Helen, this podcast. Don't forget
Talk
that.
about hobbits' feet.
Yeah, I know, true. But there's a happy ending, because with my little goblin feet that I've got, with my bunions and things, and my little bunions, and I think, oh yeah, and the aches and pains and stuff, and I think, oh, that's something new, right? Yeah, I'll have to deal with that now. But it's like, that is what happens with aging. That's what happens. And I think that coming out the other side, I'm hoping that it will slow down. Once I get to 60, it's like, there always is something else. But I just think that it's a real kind of acceptance is the word. It is an acceptance, yeah.
And how was Jim with it all? Was he quite well educated about the menopause, or he was like, blimmin' it, what are you smearing on your body now, love? What is all these pills and potions? Was he aware of the whole concept?
Well, he is now.
He's fully up to speed.
He is now.
Yeah.
It's like that. What's that patch there? Yeah, don't rub that. But I think, a lot of my friends who were similar ages, we talk about it, so easy. Sometimes, I've got my girlfriends around and he'll sit and I can, he'll listen and kind of go, oh yeah, that's right, yeah. But I think now it's because, like, I think men go through it as well, seeing Jim at the age he is, and it's the aging process, isn't it? And I think that it's to be open and honest about it, whoever I'm with. And especially at work, that's been a big something as well for me, because I was terribly ashamed of it, terribly ashamed of having anxiety and feeling less than, feeling, I didn't have any confidence. And I think with coming through it, it's a great feeling when I can just say, you know what, I'm a little bit angsty today. So on set, sometimes I'll say, just give me a minute, because I'm just getting my breath and I just need a second, and I'm having a little bit of anxiety going on. Oh yeah, no problem. And it's fantastic, because it actually takes the stigma out of it, and also the fear behind it. Because if I said, this is me and this is what I'm like, and I'm having a bit of a hot sweat, the cameraman said to me the other time, he said, oh yeah, so don't worry, yep. I have them sometimes. Thought, hot sweats, no panics, all right, yeah. So I think it's just being totally honest.
And have you noticed a change? You talk about people's attitudes on set, because I know you were one of the first people to start talking about the menopause, very open before this sort of so-called menopause revolution. So have you seen a change in the way that people have reacted to you when you talk about it openly over the last few years?
I have, and I see a change in, like, everybody talks about it now. When I was going through the perimenopause, nobody really talked about it, and you just had to accept it and get on with it. The journey that I've had since then is I'm through the other side. But what that means now is other issues like, like your eyesight gets worse. That's just an old age thing, a middle age thing. And, aches and pains. So you've got to change your diet, maybe tweak it a little bit and have the right vitamins, the right minerals, do more exercise. And actually, when you are in that menopausal way, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do exercise. You just want to sit down and binge watch some Netflix series or something like that. You don't want to leave your sofa.
The truth. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I do remember when we spoke a few years ago, you talked about wanting to slow down and wanting to change your life from this fast-paced career woman and actually slow down a bit and take more time for you. Is that something you managed to do? Has that happened, do you think?
I have. Yeah. It's great. I love my job on Corrie, and I love the fact when people see me, they go, "Oh, is that you, Monty? You don't look the same, dear," because she's very glamorous, Debbie Webster. And I think, I leave the drama to Corrie now. I love going in, doing a bit of drama, getting all dicky-dolled up and then coming home again and just getting my wellies on and getting out in fields.
Brilliant.
But I have slowed down, yeah. And I think it's the simple things in life. When I was younger, it was, how much can I do? How much can I fit in one day? I want to do this. I want to do that. I was never terribly, terribly career-minded, but I always kind of went where the next job was and travelled a lot. And if anybody invited me somewhere, I'd think, oh, yeah, I've got to go. And it's actually learning to say no. And a massive thing for me is taking time out for myself and taking time out for the people that I really want to be with. And not saying yes to everything. And it's just picking and choosing the stuff that I want to do.
Brilliant.
And do you think your industry is sort of accepting of that? Or do you think it's difficult because of the job that you do to take that slower pace of life?
Well, I think it's like anything, isn't it? It's like any industry, especially now, this fast pace of life. It's crazy. And when I see some of my mates that are younger and they're just all out there, and I think, great, that's brilliant. I think that it's an attitude that I've had to adopt, because if I don't adapt, then I will continue to go on that treadmill and that machine and just what we call life now and just go, where I know that I can't do that anymore. I haven't got the energy. And it is that feeling of I've got less time than I had time. So I've got to do what pleases me. And I don't think I ever had that balance before. I think the menopause has taught me that balance. And it's certainly brought me to the point of I know my limits now. I never knew my limits before. So at work, if it's like, work is crazy. I think a lot of jobs are just crazy busy, especially like in the acting profession. It's hustle. You've got to get out there. I can't, it makes me ill. It makes me ill. I know that, I've never been terribly like, oh yeah, I want that job. I'm going to get that job. If I see a job, I put my mates up for it because I think, oh yeah, they could do that better than me. I've always been like that. But now I do think that I have to make that decision, what's right and what's best for me,
And I think it's important to talk about the positives of menopause as well, because, you do get more selective, you do get more grown up, you do get more focused on what's right for you. And it's good to talk about that stuff rather than just the negative sides of menopause sometimes as well, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I'm the best version of me now than I've ever been. And I think that that's because I like myself now. I've grown to accept myself and like myself and not compare with everybody else, because I think as well, sometimes as women, we go, oh, well, that person's doing better than me in the fact that she's coping better than me. But I can only deal with what I've been given. So I think if that's the state, then I've got to make the best of what I have. And I think that in menopause now, that's what I've done. It's a real, I wake up every morning, I feel blessed that I'm still here, because it's like, I know that my mum and dad never made it to 60. They never made it to 60, So I've got those genes that, I've got to be careful what I eat. I've got to be careful what I drink. I've got to be careful how I exercise. I'm approaching 60 in a couple of years. I'm going to have a massive party and a massive celebration, because if I get there, I'm going to say, yes, girls, come on.
Yay.
I made it through the menopause. Yeah, I made it through. And I do think life is a gift. It's a joy, and it's what we make of it, isn't it? It's how we see it.
It teaches you a lot, doesn't it, the menopause? Do you feel like it's almost a responsibility to keep talking about it and to keep, increase the representation of people at our stage of life on the screen and carry on the conversation that really has progressed in the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If anybody asks me about perimenopause or the menopause, I will talk about it. I'm very, yeah. Because I want to, I think it's important to help other people as well. So if somebody else is going through it and they say, look, I am really at my wit's end and I don't know how to cope with this, I know that you can go through it, and I know that you will come out the other side. And I think that's important for women to know that as well.
And where do you think we are, in terms of the conversation in the country? We have come a long way in these 3 years that we've been doing the podcast, haven't we? Do you think we've kind of been there and done it, or do you think there's still a lot more that needs to change in terms of awareness of the menopause for everyone in the UK or the world even?
I certainly think it needs to change in some other countries as well, because in our country we can talk about it. But I do think doctors need to be more up on the subject still. And I think there needs to be more menopause clinics that don't charge a fortune. Because I know that when I was first starting out and I was going to ring in these places, oh yes, it's £400 seeing somebody. Well, I mean, I just think, how do people afford £400 when it's one of the natural things that you go through, the menopause? I think it's silly that women have to pay that kind of money to get the right treatment. But I do think it's about us keep talking about it and keep moving forward with it and not having it as a big secret like it was in my nan's day, my mum's day. You were brave if you got through it. It's like, oh, keep quiet and just get through it. But you can't do that. Life's not about that, is it? I think we have moved forward, but not enough. Yeah.
I always remember the lady that you mentioned when we first spoke to you, who you said, I don't even know if her name might have been Edna, and she said her mum had been carted off in menopause.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember her?
Yeah,
I mean,
my church ladies.
That still sticks with me, that there was no help for women who were going through menopause, who didn't understand what was happening, and they were probably dismissed and probably had no way of advocating for themselves, and it was a case of someone could sign them over to a psychiatric hospital, or they were just shoved away, and that was it's frightening, really, isn't it?
And that, well, it is, because I've heard a lot of stories like that about people. I mean, I never went psychotic, but a lot of women going through perimenopause go psychotic. Do they go to the doctors, and the doctors don't check the hormones, and they'll put them on antipsychotic drugs when they're not actually doing the right job, because it's the hormones that are causing them to go psychotic. Now, all this needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed. Now, you're lucky if you've got a great doctor. That's the thing. If you can go to a doctor and say, look, I'm really struggling. I know I didn't have that. I didn't have that at all. I went to my doctor, and she didn't know anything about the menopause. So I had to do all the research and stuff. But I know that the more that we talk about it and the more that there's no shame around it, because I think, women do commit suicide going through perimenopause. They do, because they don't know what's wrong with them. And I think that it's serious. It is a serious hormonal imbalance.
But if you don't know what's going on, you think you're losing the plot, and instead of the conversation saying, actually, you might feel anxious, you might feel depressed, you might feel a range of emotions, and you might feel overwhelmed with anger, or like, if it's anything like me, they're feeling like they want to kill someone at times. These things might happen, but actually it's all hormones, and it's not the fact that you're losing your mind or you're losing your faculties. So it's
that's it. Yeah, I think it's a really scary feeling to to actually not be in control of your emotions in a way that, and control's not the right word, but in a way that you think, I feel like I'm in somebody else's body. I'm in somebody else's mind, but you have no control over it. I remember when I was really bad, I had the same thoughts going round and round in my head, and I couldn't get off that loop. And looking back now, of course, that's what it was. But that's the most scariest thing, the not knowing how to make it better.
Which is why it's so important to keep on talking and keep on having these conversations, I think. Have we got time to talk about your one-woman show? Because that's happening again, isn't it? Tell us what's occurring.
So, Didn't You Used to Be Somebody is about a wonderful lady called Jessie Jackson. She's a woman of a certain age going through menopause and an addiction. And this is another thing that I talk about as well a lot. I think that things that you haven't sorted out in your life, or things that trouble you or that niggle you, when you go through menopause, it all comes to the surface like a big tsunami, like an explosion. It's like, if you've not dealt with those things, going through menopause, it brings it all to the surface. And when I was younger, I don't drink alcohol because my dad was a drinker. He died from drink-related illness. I don't smoke because my mum was a smoker. She died from smoking-related illness. So I've got that addictive nature, and I think that Jessie Jackson, it's about her journey through menopause when you have a craving. So it's a constant craving. And I think with the menopause, you do get cravings like, when you're going through your hormonal changes when you're a teenager and you eat more and you can eat everything in sight because your hormones are raging. I've written this character where her hormones are raging and she still eats everything in sight, but because she's perimenopausal and she's a woman of a certain age, she just keeps putting on weight.
It happens.
Yeah. It's hard to take.
I can relate to that, so
yeah, it's kind of autobiographical, but yeah.
There's a lot of material to draw on there, so yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is something you've written, you star in it, and you perform on your own.
Wow.
That must be difficult, right?
The thing is, it's something that I'm really passionate about. So I've got a friend of mine who is directing it, Jason Yates, who's brilliant, and he gets the best out of me, put it that way. And I think he's just really supportive as well. And I think when you're passionate about something, and he helped me with the writing of it, he put it in a really good order, and it's what I needed. And he pushed me because I'm very much like, oh, that can be done tomorrow. That'll be done tomorrow, and he just said, no, get it written. And I didn't know, I've written poetry and comedy before, but never like a 2-hour play. So I'm right looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And because you did like a one-off of it a while ago, didn't you, Sue? And the picture of it, the advertising for it, is you sat in this bath.
Yeah.
with like loads of cakes around you.
Oh, brilliant.
And you're like,
yeah.
Eating a big cake, basically. And I was like, yeah, I can identify with that.
Oh, yeah. She's a woman with an insatiable appetite for anything that's bad for her.
I have been there, definitely.
Same here.
And this was last year, but people get a chance to see it this year as well. Is that right, Sue?
It's 2025. It's going to be
year.
on at home. Yeah, next year. Yeah.
So this is
in
Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Manchester. Yeah.
Not in your home. There is a venue called Home in Manchester.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Home
Just
in
clarifying
Manchester. Yeah.
for our listeners.
Home and show
Not
at
my
home in the
front
bath.
Imagine it could be.
That would be a golden ticket.
Yeah, that is a whole other story.
That's another show.
That is another show. Well, that was the funny thing with that. They wanted some publicity for it, and I said to Jason, should we go and do it in a bath? He said, yeah, but he said, no, your bath's not good. My bath's not good. We'll have to get a hotel somewhere with a nice bath in.
Nice.
So we did. Yeah.
Oh.
Excellent.
Listen, Sue, I just wanted to say to you, because you had such a huge impact on us, like the first time you spoke to us, which was three years ago, and I've gone back and I've listened to that interview many, many times, and I've always got solace. It's motivated me, and I got my mum to listen to it, and just thank you, because honestly, it was so helpful and moving and truthful and brilliant. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No, but thank you as well for doing this fabulous Effin Hormones, because, you know, it was a time as well when nobody would talk about it. And I really do think that sharing our stories, it makes us feel like we're not on our own, and we're not on our own. And I think gone are the days where you have to say, oh yeah, I'm fine, me, because sometimes we're not. I might be fine 1 hour and then another hour I'm not fine. And, you know, I might feel great one day and then another day I might be full of anxiety. I think that's just being human, innit? And especially like with our hormones, it's being the women that we are. It's like not finding fault if we're feeling a little bit off our centre. It's just going, yeah, this is me today.
Yeah.
And I want to say a big thank you as well, because am I right in thinking that Sue is our only repeat guest?
Yeah.
You
Because
are.
We had you on 3 years ago, and it's so great that you've given it your time to come on and be our only ever guest that's been on Effin Hormones twice.
Friend of the show.
Do you know what I mean? I feel honoured. I feel honoured.
You get a
And
double
thank
effing.
you.
Double effing, Sue.
Double effing, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I feel and I think you're all warrior. You inspire. You're inspiring ladies, honestly.
Love
you. Are. Yeah.
It's a big old loving. Brilliant.
It is, isn't it? It is, yeah.
Fabulous.
And it says, you know, it's like life's full of ups and downs, innit? And it's just making the little things in the day joyous, I think.
Brilliant.
Oh, but no, thank you so much, Sue. It's been, as always, an absolute pleasure.
Oh, no.
And we're
thank
so happy
you.
for you with your new life with Jim as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I think he's downstairs making me chickpea curry at
Oh,
the minute.
nice.
So I'm next to my teas.
Oh,
It's
very
all right,
good.
yeah. He's the
Oh, he's a
I'm
keeper.
making pancakes. He's a keeper. I'm making pancakes and fail every time.
No. But listen, it's just such a brilliant example. They say, look, life does not stop. You know, and you come out the other side and brilliant things can happen.
The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come, and I am living my best life now. If somebody had said to me, perimenopausal, well, don't worry, because in 4 years you'll be married, you'll have a job that you love, you'll live in a lovely area, and life will be great. I'd have gone, all right, I'll just sit tight, then watch a few more Netflix videos till then, and not worry.
You might give a few of our listeners ideas. They might be going, all right, I'm going to ditch the husband. I'm going to get out of my wellies. I'm going to go to Lanzarote. Bring my mates.
Yeah,
girls. Brilliant.
no.
Thanks, Sue.
Crikey, that is it for the penultimate episode of Effin Hormones. We will meet again. Feel free to sing that bit.
God.
Okay, sorry. Listen, basically, we want to hear from you. Get involved in our final episode. Have you got any funny stories relating to your experiences of listening to an episode? Or maybe has listening to the podcast made you get together with your mates to chat about this? Anyway, we've loved hearing from you over the years. So if you'd like to be part of it, Helen, what do we want people to do?
Drop us an email.
When do we want it?
To Effin Hormones. Now, Effin Hormones at gmail.com. EFFIN Hormones at gmail.com. Vina's going on holiday for the next 5 months, so it's going to be a while before we can get together anyway, right? So there's plenty of time.
October.
There's plenty of time. Around about October, we'll get back together in person. We'll read out your emails. If you email me and you want to do a voice note or something like that, or even a recording, then look, just email. I'll sort it out with you. EFFIN Hormones at gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And everything we've done over the last few years, of course. We will be back for that one last chinwag about what's been going on over the past, get this, 36 episodes. Wow. And yes, all of those 36 episodes will still be available to listen to. So please, if you know someone who's just starting on their journey and wondering what the hell is going on with their body and their mind, please tell them about us so they can have a listen right from the start. Thanks so much for listening. Love ya. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Love you. Love you. We will be back. It's not the final one. Love you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Well, nice one, H.